I'd like to call to order the September 27, 2016 meeting of the Middleton Board of Selectmen. I'd like to remind everybody in attendance that this is being recorded both audio and visually. So both your words and your picture will be recorded. We're required by law to tell you that. Our first agenda item, we have 4 sets of minutes.
Move to accept the June 7th regular session and June 7th executive session, June 21st regular session, and June 21st executive session minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. The town warrant. Mr. Burke.
Chairman, you have before you the payroll warrant in the amount of $562,280, and the bills payable warrant in the amount of $1,386,783. Notable items are $103,836 for paving. That's of Mill Street and Old 100 Lane. You'll remember the town funded half of the funding for the paving of Old 100 Lane as a private way at town meeting this past year. $32,083 for the purchase of radios for the police department. It's for 15 portable radios with options and accessories. That was Article 23 from town meeting. And finally, the quarterly assessment for the North Shore Tech. That's $154,652. Our town accountant, CFO, recommends both warrants to be approved.
Any questions of Mr. Furr?
Move to accept as presented.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. The Assistant Town Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few updates for you. The Town Administrator is attending the International City-County Management Association meeting in Kansas City, and he's slated to return on Thursday. In your packet, you'll see a letter from the Massachusetts Collectors and Treasurers Association indicating that our Assistant Treasurer Collector, Belinda Young, has successfully passed her Treasurer's examination, and she will be designated as a Certified Municipal Treasurer. Belinda's now planning to take the Collector's exam, so a hearty congratulations to Belinda for all her hard work in passing that. I'm told that the Treasurer's exam is the harder of the two exams, so hopefully the Collector's exam will be just that much easier for her. So that's good news. Wanted to provide everybody with a little update on the DYS facility on Gregory Street. Had a chance last week to meet with the DYS Regional Director, Dr. Susanna Chan, Acting Director of Operations, John Bates, Joe Hogan, Director of Capital Planning and for DCAM, and Matt Cocciardi, the Director of Legislative Affairs for DCAM, is also there. There's going to be, and it's in your packet, a ribbon-cutting ceremony for Thursday, September 29th at 10 a.m. The governor plans to be in attendance at that meeting, and you are, of course, welcome. During that visit, I was following up on a question asked by you, Mr. Chairman, to go through the site and determine whether or not the promises that were made to the neighborhood as it related to the landscaping plan were being followed. What you were handed out at this meeting is a little overview of that, and I can tell you that from my walk around the site with Mr. Bates and Matt as well, that essentially the DYS plan that they had come forth with, that new plan, it has been followed. There have been a few adjustments, but the key things just to point out to you is the row of trees here in the front was maintained, and the other sections of trees that we were able to push to DYS and DCAM to keep back here and on the side of the site are still in place, and it is a vast improvement from the original plan that we looked at, which was pretty much a clear cut of the entire site. So we were pleased that DYS hosted us at that time and walked us around the site. We also asked of Dr. Chan at that time if they'd be willing to have with beyond the ribbon cutting, a separate session on a Saturday for the neighborhood. and they are willing to do that. We are planning to have a meeting with the neighbors on Deacon Drive, Gregory Street, Perkins Road, and Bouchard Drive. We're still waiting to get that invitation, but this would be for Saturday, October 15th at 10 a.m. So those folks should be seeing that invitation at that time. The selectmen are also welcome to come out on site. This won't be a full tour, but more of DYS bringing everybody on site and kind of giving them an overview of all of the programs that they're running there. It's a very, while there's only 45 residents at the site, there are a lot of different programs going out there, including the fact that the Northeast region is based in that building as well. So I think if everybody remembers what that building used to look like, this is a big step up for DYS in the town. So I was pleased to see that and encourage anybody listening at home to look out for that invitation. Middleton Health Department's hosting a seasonal flu clinic on Saturday, October 15th. From 8 to 12 at the Howe Manning School cafeteria. So that notice is posted up on the town website if anybody's interested. We've been informed by David Opakta from DCAM that the target start date for the Essex hockey rink is October 15th. That's maybe give or take a week or two, but that's roughly what we're looking at as a full start. Just to remind everybody, that site has 2 hockey rinks and 1 multi-use indoor field as well. Also a gym and a cafeteria. I also wanted to provide the board with an update on the land transfer of the 16 parcels. David Opakta at DCAM has been very busy with a project in Medford and with this hockey rink as well, and trying to get those projects up and running, and hasn't had the time to put together the environmental notification form that he has to put together to transfer those properties. He hopes to get that at the end of October. When we do that, it'll be about a 45-day period for when the ENF will be reviewed. And after that point, then we can begin the formal process of transferring the deeds over to the town. So we are making progress, albeit slow, but I'm just continuing to call DCAM on a regular basis. We've got a lot of interest from the Conservation Commission, from the Stream team. They want to move this ahead. We want to move it ahead, but we're really relying on DCAM to take that role here. So next topic is just to make an announcement and make sure everybody knows that our school committee member, Lisa Saxonis, has expressed her intention to resign from the school committee. Lisa's offered to continue on as a member of the school committee until her position is filled, but per the policies of a member who resigns, the school committee and board of selectmen need to meet together to interview candidates. So we put that notice up on the town website. I believe it was yesterday, Michelle, this morning that the notice went on. The school committee as well is making efforts to get that notice out to interested parties on their end. We are planning to meet at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October 25th with the school committee. It'll be just before our normally scheduled meeting at 7. So that hour before is when we'll be conducting the interview of candidates. So that I just wanted to follow up and let the public know, as well as remind you that that meeting, which will not be our next meeting, which will be October 11th, but the meeting thereafter, that will be meeting a little bit earlier. So that's good. We'll make some progress on that, and we thank, of course, Lisa for her service on the school committee. We have with us tonight Town Council Tom Fallon, and Tom, I was going to ask Tom for a little update on the Candlelight case, if you could give
the Candlelight, it was a 5-day trial in Superior Court in Newburyport, and we finished it last week. And I don't have the decision, the actual written decision in hand, but it was put on the docket online. And the zoning board decision upholding the building inspector's decision not to grant the building permit was affirmed by the Superior Court. And the Superior Court also issued an order that Mr. Deacon has to let the building inspector inspect 329 North Main Street and 6, 8, and 11 Rockaway Road. And at the trial, Mr. Deacon testified that those 4 properties are being used as a rooming house, which triggers the automatic sprinkler code. That's not grandfathered in at all. So the town is looking forward to inspecting those properties. I would imagine there's going to be building code violations, there's going to be zoning violations, and there's going to be state fire code violations on those properties, separate and apart from the Candlelight Motel. So I don't know the...
So a question I have is, if those are found during inspection, which will now be allowed in, and especially if there's violations that would deem they should be there immediately, we should ensure that a bunch of families aren't being instantly displaced, and see if there's any other social services that can be available.
Well, we're going to have to look at that when we go in, but the issue with those things there's no question that it's a rooming house, since Mr. Deacon admitted that. And
There's no question it was a rooming house.
Excuse me?
There was no question before he admitted it that it was a rooming house.
Well, it's funny because he was denying the 64-unit Candlelight Motel was a rooming house, but he admitted that the 4 other properties were a rooming house, which triggers the sprinkler requirement, which is a little more safety concern than anything else. So that's the biggest concern I think the town's going to have when we get into that, along with what's going to happen with the Candlelight. Again, I haven't seen the written decision, but the testimony is pretty clear on the numerous violations that were in the Candlelight, never mind the other properties. So,
Anybody else, any other questions?
so there's a Mr. Deacon, believe it or not, actually sued the town of Middleton, which is a second Superior Court action pending, saying that he was denied the building permit, and therefore he suffered over $1 million worth of damages due to the closing of the Candlelight Motel. Prior to the decision being rendered in Newburyport Superior Court, myself and the other attorney agreed that if the town prevailed in Newburyport, that action would be moot, because it wasn't supposed to be open in the first place. I suspect there's going to be a retreat in that position, but I don't think that action is going to be of any concern, because he's not entitled to a building permit, and there's no electricity turned on, so he needs that before anybody could occupy the premises.
And the judge didn't merge those two cases?
No, no, that hasn't happened, and the other one went first, but it's pretty much raised judicata, because that issue's already been tried. There's no question that he wasn't entitled to the building permit, and he can't open without the building permit. He has before, but this decision put the end to that. So, and Rick Bienvenu was there every day during the trial. He came down from the state building inspector's office, and Scott Fitzpatrick was also. And it was the first zoning board case I tried with the presence of the building commissioners there. And it was just an invaluable way to try a case, having those two guys there, for backup and support. So it was an interesting case.
Great.
I do say, where was it available online again? Is it?
The docket's available online.
Oh, but no decision or anything like that.
Well, it says what the judgment is.
Oh, okay.
But I just don't have the reasoning behind that decision. That's in the mail, but I should have that soon, and I'll send it to Ryan, and Ryan can make copies for everybody. So,
Great.
That concludes my remarks, other than the request.
Sure. Any other update on anything else since you're here?
That's about the only thing I can say in open session. So.
Okay, great. All righty.
Just one item that you had brought up, the Essex Hockey Rink on October 15th. Did we get a value of what that was on July 1st?
We did. We have a sense of what that was. Brad was up there at that time, yes.
Okay, thanks.
A percentage completion of the building at that time, yes.
Okay, good, thanks.
With deep regret, we announced that the Patricia Pelletier, a former town employee, passed away on September 3rd from leukemia. So I would suggest we have a moment of silence in her honor. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our regular agenda. Our first agenda item is an application of TPG Hotels and Resort Contract Services, LLC, DBA Doubletree by Hilton, Boston, North Shore, 51 Village Road, Milton, Mass., to transfer all alcohol innkeepers' common victular entertainment license from TPG Contract Services, LLC, with no change in the existing manager. We love that. Elena Hargraves, and apply for automatic amusement license. And come on up.
Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Johnson's coming up, just one item of note. We do have the automatic amusement license on the motion, but Mr. Johnson was able to demonstrate that the amusements that we thought might be on the Middleton side of the line are in fact on the Danvers side of the line.
You know, like that room was, that
will
room is
not,
definitely on the Danvers side.
So that will not be considered as part of this vote.
Evening, gentlemen. How are you today? So on the amusement license, as we had conversations today, we used to hold an amusement license that encompassed a billiard table and a jukebox, which was in the Trade Winds Lounge. I can't tell you when that was removed, but it was many, many years ago. As it relates to the amusements license for the arcade associated with Cocoa Key Water Park, that is actually in the newer part, or I'm sorry, the older part of the building, not the older. I do have a blueprint if I can present, if you'd like to see that. Who should I present that to?
You know, when they came in, we were aware that that little arcade room was definitely.
And we looked at all of our licensing, and here we go. We have the Danvers Middletown line. This is all Cocoa Keys Water Park here on Middleton, and here is the Danvers side, and here is the arcade, and this is in the older part of the building.
Yeah. Great. And any particular reason why, I mean, it's a business decision, you're changing over, I mean, it's all the same people, you're just changing the name?
The TPG, or the Prakashanti Group, decided to change their name for all of their holdings, so they are doing this with all the properties. No other reason but a name change.
It's an expensive name change.
That it is. We will be having this same meeting next week with the town of Danvers.
Make sure you include the automatic amusement license in that.
We do have that one. I actually do have that license. Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the application of TPG Hotels and Resort Contract Services, LLC, DBA Doubletree by Hilton, Boston North Shore, 51 Village Road, Middleton, Mass., to transfer the all-alcoholic innkeepers, common victualers, and entertainment licenses from TPG Contract Services, LLC, with no change in liquor license manager.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. And you can go to the town clerk sometime, probably tomorrow?
Probably.
Pick up your license at that point.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, on the next two agenda items, I have a conflict, so I'm going to recuse myself. I'm going to have Mr. Cassiotis take over the agenda for the remaining items.
So for our next item is a discussion regarding Rusty's Bottle Shop, 21 South Main Street, and licensee Alan Karahalis, related to compliance with the terms of its retail packaged goods store license. Aye.
Before we proceed on the merits, my sister
Yeah,
dropped off an email request.
So we had received notice from Mr. Kaha's attorney, Scott Macy, requesting that this matter be put off for 2 weeks, but it is, it's at the discretion of the board as to how you'd like to proceed.
Thanks for coming out. We do have a memo from your attorney, I believe, so requesting that a 2-week continuance be provided in regarding to a proposed sale of the license.
We have a resident of town that owns 2 other package stores in the Commonwealth, and I think if you would give me the chance to sell it to him, he'll be the best interest of the town. He's going to buy the building also, and having 2 package stores, and this would make 3, he would be able to cross-inventory legally, be able to have competitive pricing with more of the larger stores, which I can't do when it's fighting an uphill battle when your prices are too high.
Right.
So I understand why I'm here tonight, but if you just, whatever action you're going to take, just let me have my counsel here, and hopefully we'll present something that the board might
So
find
I
acceptable.
appreciate the point of counsel, if I could, Mr. Chairman. So I noticed this was dated today at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
So it was several weeks ago that you were asked to appear before us.
I was served last Monday, the 19th. The letter's dated the 16th. and
Because nobody was there the 16th, or 17th, or 18th to accept. So I'd ask the question, do you have a agreement to purchase in place?
I have a draft copy here. He has an attorney, Gregory DeMarcus from Lynn. I have an attorney.
DeMarcus has appeared before us in other licenses.
Yes. Some changes had to be made, and then my client is of Egyptian descent, and every year he takes a vacation in the summer. And I spoke to him prior to the notice coming from the town, and I said, Mike, are we still, because I had another offer come in from somebody else. I said, are we still on board? And he says, yes, we are. He said, I'll be back on the 28th of September. I'll be in on the 29th at 3 o'clock, and we'll make the changes to the agreement and execute it.
Well,
Our
Mr.
attorney's
Harris,
here.
I think this is just a very cavalier approach. First of all, if you did receive this on the 19th, that was 8 days ago. All right, and then you get this email from Attorney Masser at 3 o'clock today, and it takes you 3 hours to get it here. Attorney Masser sees my name down as town counsel. He knows what a lawyer's diary is. You do also. Somebody could have called and did something prior to this happening. This has been going on quite a while. And the question I have is, in the next 2 weeks, what are the store hours going to be?
Well, there are some mitigating circumstances. would like not to get into them now and involve some family members, but if I'll be up there morning till night to get it done.
Well, will you be up there the hours that you
Yes.
agreed to
Yes,
for the 2 weeks?
yes,
Right, and that's your promise in return for a 2-week continuance?
yes.
If not, I will be there.
This is my sister.
Okay.
So, if I could, Mr. Chairman, so when you were before us last year, you signed a contract with us. And as part of the contract, you signed in December. And the reason why we brought you before us, for those that might be watching this or here and wondering what is going on, was a liquor license, a full liquor license, that has not been utilized to the extent that the license is written. We brought you in, we talked about the mitigating circumstances there. What we talked about was the level of interest we were starting to receive and had been receiving from folks around town, both in town and out of town, that were looking for a full liquor license. I know there was some discussion about some beer and wine licenses that had been approved, and quite honestly, they were approved because there was a need in town. We were hearing this constantly. I hear this from folks that constantly in town. Secondly, as you probably know, a couple of weeks ago, we actually had some folks before us that are asking us to petition the legislature to bring in a third liquor license, or maybe a third and fourth liquor license. We had some discussion about that. We're actually going to have a special town meeting this fall. We haven't made that decision yet if we will. But the reason why you're here before us tonight, whether with or without an attorney, but the reason why you're here as the holder of the license, is to kind of understand what the heck's going on. There's a reason why folks are coming before us and asking for another liquor license in town. And I will tell you, I've talked to our legislative delegation. If our town meeting approves a third liquor license, it'll go to the legislature and it'll be passed. And we'll have a third liquor license in town. I don't know if we need a third liquor license. I do know we need a second liquor license. So I guess my concern is that you signed a contract with us on December 8th. Within the contract, you stated that you would keep certain hours. And that if you also stated in the agreement that you signed, the board signed, you also stated that you understood it was in the interest that it be open the hours that had been agreed to. Now, you came at the end of last year, at the same time, you had your license renewed. You didn't ask for a change in hours. You could have. You could have come before us at that point and said, for my renewal that takes effect January 1st, I'd like to move the hours to A, B, or C. You didn't. I think my bigger concern is, You know, as you know, and we've notified you through numerous memos, we've tried to keep an idea of when you're open, because we've noticed more often than not, the metal grade is down, sometimes for days and days at a time. So, I don't know, I guess this is the majority of the board's decision, but I'm trying to figure out what you're doing and if you really want the license. I mean, we could have dealt with this in December, and if you came to us and stated that, here's the hours, you know, I need a change in the hours. Instead, you signed a document in your signature promising certain things, and really, you know, there's a reason why we've had 2 or 3 different entities before this board asking for a 3rd or a 4th license. And there's a reason why there is. I mean, there's a saturation point with licenses as well. I mean, my point on a 3rd or a 4th license is that may be too many in town. But we really have 1 license in town right now. We have another one that's really not being used at all. And, you know, my concern is if you're actually selling this, does the individual know that they're buying a building that has been closed much more often than it's been open?
I would think they'd be looking at the books.
Well,
That's why.
and the level of scrutiny and concern that this board's going to have on this.
Right, and in that agreement, you agreed to surrender the license if you breached that agreement.
I mean, in reality, you've breached your agreement. And technically, on what you signed on the 8th of December, 2015, you stated that you would voluntarily surrender its license and not object to its cancellation of same should you violate or not comply with any of the stipulations, terms, conditions, agreements, and/or acknowledgments contained herein. And I think this board, and there were, you know, we have at least 1 new member since the last board, but the vast majority of this board was very reasonable with you in the times that you've been before us. I know the communications you have with our previous town administrator, with our current town administrator, with our current assistant town administrator. We've been very clear what we're saying. I mean, the way I read this, you've technically voluntarily surrendered your license. So it would have been very helpful tonight to actually hear some reality, whether it's from you or your attorney. I understand mitigating circumstances, but, I mean, at this point, I want to hear what's going to happen. If not, I think I know what's going to happen.
Well, as far as,
Now, I'm just trying to find out what's happened from when you signed the agreement in December, stating that you'd stay open, to where we are today. And quite honestly, shame on us for letting it go as long as we have, because I will tell you, you really weren't in compliance not long after December 8th. We're trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. I understood that you were trying to build your business up. It's gone to the point where either it's the lights are on, the door's locked with a note in the door saying, "I'll be back," to the usual, which is lights off, metal grate closed, and sometimes it stays like that for days on end. Again, we're the licensing authority per law and per statute, and based on our population, we're given 2 licenses. And we've had a slew of folks that have come in knocking on this door, both letters that have been sent to us, phone calls have been sent to us, and folks asking to appear before us on our agenda to ask for a 3rd and/or 4th license. I'll be honest, I spent 8 years in the legislature. If a home rule petition comes through to the legislature on a liquor license, this is a perfunctory matter. It's just getting it on the House and Senate calendar to get it passed, because this is not an objectionable item. It really isn't. So, I mean, I guess, so you're telling us that you think you have a purchaser of the license, and as you know, that is still also a effort that is contingent upon this board's approval, and then ultimately contingent upon the ABCC's approval, but we're the first and biggest step in that hurdle in that process. So, I guess, you know, I don't overstep my bounds, Mr. Chairman. I know he's asked for a continuance, but I'd like to hear what's going on. I mean, we're still the licensing authority. There's no need to be here with an attorney. If you have a choice, you can.
Right. I mean, well, Alan, you know, as far as we can be, you know, respect the fact that you're trying to, you know, have a sale and for what you're trying to do. The fact is, whether you do or you don't, you are still in violation of the agreement that you struck with the board just under a year ago.
Right.
You know, regardless of anything, you know, a 2-week extension here, what's that going to do with the hours of the store from now till then?
Well, if you get a legitimate agreement from the buyer, and I was going to make a condition that he also file the license transfer applications by the 2-week continuance, I'm hoping at that point in time that the board would say this is going to happen. It doesn't help anybody to see you have a vacant building there, and I think I haven't missed a day. The hours might be in question, but this basically will probably be a benefit to everybody because of the buying power he will have, and the fact he's already told me as soon as this board gives approval, he wanted my permission to have contractors coming in to upgrade the building, and I told him absolutely. So I understand what everybody has told me. I really get it. It's just a question of if. Give me the chance. If you don't want to let me sell it, at least give me a chance to have my attorney here and proceed.
Well, I think in light of things, we're not keeping you from trying to sell it. So if you could do that, obviously you want to do that.
It'll be done by the time if you grant the continuance.
Well, the sale will be done, or
No.
P&S will be executed.
The only way I see putting it off for 2 weeks is if in the 2 weeks from now, you're here with a signed P&S, with the buyer, with the buyer's attorney, and if you're not, you hand us the license back.
2 weeks
and
from
you're
today.
done, yes.
Today.
Well, can't we confirm with the buyer that will work, that he could get his attorney and get himself here on that time? Just
I assume
so
if he
we're not.
wants to buy this, he'll be here.
Well, what you could do is you could schedule a revocation hearing for 2 weeks, and it's up to him whether he wants to show up and buy the property or not.
Yeah,
I
I
will
just
tell
can't
you,
speak for him. He's
and-
out of the country.
Right, and if he doesn't, then the board can decide what they're going to do.
If there's a revocation hearing, he'll be here.
Yeah. And that license still has to be transferred in any event. I mean, it's not.
I understand. But that will just be a show of good faith, and then hopefully after you do the advertising requirements, we'll be on. And
So we're really,
I think you're jumping the gun
we're
a
really
bit.
trying to show some good faith here. I think the good faith went out the window a long time ago. If you legitimately have a seller for this, I hope you sell it. I really do. You were right. It'll be good for the location. If there's buying power, that's great to the individual that's buying it. I mean, this building's in the center of our town with a metal grate that's closed more often than it's open. We've spent a lot of money and energy with improvements that have happened in town, especially in the center of our town, and quite honestly, it's an eyesore. When the grate's up, there's faded signs in the window that you can't even read. At least I think the broken snow shovel's finally gone. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but I want to be realistic here. We are the licensing authority. You signed a document that stated you would surrender this if you weren't in compliance. We know you're not in compliance. You know you're not in compliance. So,
Tom, what's to set up a revocation hearing? Is there any
No, just I can.
advertising requirements or anything?
Yeah, I can get a notice, a form notice, and then you can just schedule a revocation hearing and publish it.
But, we could do that for 2 weeks from, there's enough time to do that.
Right, there's time to do that for 2 weeks. Right.
and I would state, if you're concerned because the attorney or the potential buyer is out of the country, and there's a concern about that, I would state that I would, again, I'm not going to speak for the whole board, but I'd be willing to extend that no more than 1 week beyond that.
But what you should do is contact the town, well before that, instead of just showing
Don't
up
come at 3
tonight.
p.m. on the 11th.
I know it sounds
Just don't
sketchy,
come at
but-
3 p.m.
Well, that's when the email came through.
I honestly thought he was coming, you know what I'm saying? And I don't, he's a credible person. He's a special assistant, I think, for the town of North Andover. He's a former chairman of the Conservation Commission in North Andover. I don't know what happened, I got him the notice and something came up with him. you know.
No, but I mean, I presume he got the notice that you got, and he saw town council on it, and the way to...
He got it,
And the way to do that is to, instead of waiting until the last second.
I know council. I mean, he's been representing me for the last year since we've been here in all my matters, and
Yeah.
I understand.
I know you.
So, I mean, I would state is if you hear or you do not get confirmation within a certain reasonable period of time that you do not believe you can get the potential buyer here because he's out of country, we need to be known. That needs to be known, and I'm not going to budge more than 1 week beyond that.
What's the advertising requirement for the revocation hearing?
2 days, 4 days.
I don't know if, I have to check that cost. I don't even know if you have to do that. And with this agreement, I mean, he voluntarily surrendered it, upon a breach, but this is just the formalities, but.
It's probably like a regular public hearing.
Earlier, you mentioned that the buyer is coming back on the 28th, and he'll be in on the 29th to, if we don't hear from you on the 30th, that he can, make it, it's scheduled, and it does, I don't care what you say
I
after
totally
that.
agree with you, Mr. Prendergast. That's an excellent suggestion. I was honestly going to suggest that, but
I mean, nobody's trying to be difficult. We're just trying to be realistic. You understand that?
We just honestly just want to get it sold and
I've been, this is
have
my
everything
10th year.
happen.
Eight of them were okay, and it's just,
No, but it's, rather than having the town chase you, if you reach out to the town to explain where you are and what you need and what's going on, things work much better. I mean, this is right across from Town Hall.
And I also think you probably realize that if we petition for a third license to the legislature, not going to be a great process for your hope to try to either continue and build or sell. And so this isn't a what if. We've got town meeting in November. And the only reason why we're discussing this is because the level of interest and requests has been substantially high from multiple existing businesses in town as well as those outside of town. Okay.
We have any more discussion? All right, so from what I'm getting here, we'll have to make a motion on the request for a continuance, but in that lies reporting factor of the 30th of this month. Is that what we're?
That we will schedule a revocation hearing on the 11th.
Okay.
We would want Mr. Karahalis, his attorney, the buyer's attorney, present. And if that can't be scheduled, we want to know about it by 9:30. And the most will go beyond the 11th is to the 18th.
Okay.
That sounded like a motion.
I'll second. I gotta go back a little bit. All right, so I'll make a motion to grant the 2-week extension with the caveats of all parties due here for purchase and sale with attorneys, relative attorneys due here on the 11th. Okay, well, that's correct. 2 weeks. And at which time we would, if we hadn't already, we would be looking at whether we need time to advertise or not. We'd be looking at, moving towards the revocation.
understood.
Okay, and if something comes up in that time, please don't wait. We don't know what you're doing, but we're trying to. It does impact the town. So and what we're trying to do. So sorry if I might have clouded up. So can I get a motion on all parties due on the 11th through what was discussed? I guess second.
Yes.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Tom. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Next up, Mike.
All righty, yeah. Next on the agenda, Mukesh Patel of J&M Convenience. Okay, J&M Convenience Store, DBA Richdale Convenience, 23 to 29 South Main Street, to discuss additional all-alcohol licenses. Hi, Mike.
Hi, my name is Mukesh Patel. I own the retail 29 South Main Street on Morris, around like 13 years. We are in good business and we're doing very good service and good for the town. We open on time, close on time. We don't have any issue for anything in town. And we like to have all alcohol license.
So, obviously, you sat in the room in the discussion we just had. And as I mentioned, so I guess I add J&M Convenience doing business as Richdale Convenience to the chorus that this board and town has been hearing from companies in town that are interested in additional liquor license. So as you know, we are debating two things. One of them is the second license, which is really one of two licenses that we currently have under statute now that isn't really being used. You've seen where we think the resolution of that is moving. The other issue you're hearing is that there's a potential for a special town meeting this fall. Well, there is going to be a special town meeting this fall. There's a potential on the agenda of that special town meeting will be a motion to petition the Massachusetts legislature to allow us to be exempted from the regulation that states based on population we only have 2 licenses and to grant us a third. And where I think the board is on that is there may be a resolution to this issue, but if not, there may be a need to create a third and or a fourth license. I think that's kind of where the board is. So, I know I've heard, Mukesh, I've, run into you at your store before where you've expressed this to me, and I think other members of the board. So I think you're part of the chorus of what we've heard of businessmen or women in town that are very interested in a liquor license. We've had everything from I want to open up a full liquor store to I want to expand my business to we've had a request from another entity that's looking to do specialty all liquor and in addition to beer and wine that they already have. So, I think we're probably about a month away from knowing exactly where we are. Yeah, so I think we know where you are. I think we've heard where others. I mean, the reality is if we create another license or even a fourth license.
So we can check with the town manager maybe sometime.
Yeah, so I mean, we will surely, we've had numerous folks, like I said, that have come before us. Some of them that have actually come and appeared before us, like yourself. Others that have sent us letters or emails or made phone calls. So surely what we'll do is continue to keep everybody apprised as this process moves forward, including what, if at all, will be on the town meeting. It'll likely be placed on the town meeting warrant. Whether or not it gets acted upon is another issue. So I think what we can do at that point is keep you and others up to date on this.
Okay.
Now, if the legislature, and if that's the process, and there's additional liquor licenses that are approved in town, and honestly, I don't know if that's the route we're going to go down, but if that's the case, we've had a lot of interest in this, and then I think this board's going to have to spend some serious time figuring out what that process will be.
Yeah, all right, let me know.
Okay. Well,
Whatever you guys can do.
Okay. I mean, keep in touch with Town Hall as well. Ryan or Andy can let you know as the process is going. But if there's any resolution in a nearer term, we'll surely let everybody know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and see you soon.
This meeting's making me thirsty.
should have brought it for everyone.
We can pass it down.
He was leaving.
Just remember the camera's still on.
Well, there was nothing else on the agenda afterwards. Yeah, it was the last item on the agenda, so.
Well, there's your old business.
Right. Well, that's where we're at now. So, I don't know if there is or isn't any new business.
I just wanted to report on the citizen feedback session that I held last Tuesday. There were people brought up two topics. One was water and the need to conserve, and worried about people's wells maybe drying up, and I think yesterday there was an article in the Boston Globe about that very issue. The other topic was trucks on River Street. And the gentleman, brought an email from the District 4 engineer that stated that the Mass DOT does not consider River Street a through street, and therefore the bylaw that we have had since 1940s limiting truck traffic on that road is enforceable by the town.
So actually, I have a question on that. We have commercial and industrial zoned property there that includes a company that actually has tractor trailers. So does this become a one-way dead-end street? I mean, how does the businesses there operate?
Well, when the Jushin Way went in, as I understand it, the part of their permit was that trucks going to a Jushin Way would be on River Street only between River Street and 114.
Yeah, that was originally, the signs were after Dump Road, Transfer Station Road.
That's a way.
That's the way.
But there's also an existing business there that was there long before Jushin Way.
Well, I mean, we have a bylaw that has certain restrictions. And, so, I mean, we can enforce it, we can amend it, we can, seek to delete it. But, it's the idea that the state, we can't do anything because the state will, prohibit it, seems to have been.
Yeah, and I think the reason why they deem it not a throughway is because it's not actually between 62 and 114, because 62 is a couple of hundred yards down from the other end of River Street. If it was, it probably would be deemed as such.
We had a meeting with the DPW superintendent, police chief, the town administrator about this, so we may be able to provide some ideas and some responses back to that. I know that Annie had spoken to you about this, and we have some thoughts about maybe how we can proceed forward, but we can come back to you on that.
Sure.
There was also a previous discussion on that roadway about I know DG talked about the potential of getting
Signs.
one of those signs that actually shows your speed.
Yeah, that was a result of last fall. The wife of the gentleman that came this year came with that same issue. And, because we believed at that point that Mass DOT would sort of, prohibit any kinds of exclusions of the bylaw, we're focused on trying to sort of slow down the traffic, and that, sign idea, came.
Because remember, River Street's 25 miles an hour the entire length, so, and that's one of the biggest complaints that we receive, is that in a narrow road like that, going over 25 miles an hour creates a little bit of havoc. So.
Okay. Anything else from your?
And that was it.
Any other business? Anybody else? All righty. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.